Toy Story 5 is breaking box office record after box office record. So the question is up in the air. Is Disney really going to make Toy Story 6 happen? There are only two possible answers to that question. Yes, or absolutely.
We meet again, my son.
And you might not even know this, but the confirmation that we would likely get not only a Toy Story 6 movie, but also a seventh feature film in our favorite toy franchise was made even before the release of Bonnie and Jessie's new adventure. Andrew Stanton, the director of Toy Story 5, simply gave an interview to the Entertainment Weekly website, better known as EW, and said the following: "There is enough material for 2 more Toy Story movies that we can explore. Maybe not with Bonnie, but with a different character as the main focus." If that is not a confirmation that the next movie is just a matter of time, I do not know what else would be. But as if that were not enough, another major figure behind all the movies in the franchise has already given the signal that he will probably be in the next films. We're talking about the cinema superstar Tom Hanks, who was simply the voice actor for Woody in all 5 movies made so far, not counting the franchise's Halloween and Christmas specials that are available on Disney+. When asked if he would return for a sequel to Toy Story 5, Hanks said yes, but that he would have one single condition to return. If you are going to make another Toy Story, it better be worth it. It better be great. It better explore some theme that is not just being prolonged because people like the title. And honestly, Toy Story is only Toy Story if we have Buzz and Woody together. Otherwise, it is better not to even think about it. But of course, Disney is not foolish. Quite the opposite. These statements are practically confirmations that the next toy movie is in the oven at Pixar and will soon be on the big movie theater screens. Speaking of which, another reason that practically confirms Toy Story 6 is on the way is the fact that the 5th movie is breaking box office records one after another. To give you an idea, the opening weekend of the 5th movie of Pixar's first franchise was the 2nd largest of all time, grossing $160 million, losing only to The Incredibles 2 from 2018. But when it comes to the movies in its own franchise, Toy Story 5 leads comfortably, grossing much more than Toy Story 4, which was released in 2019. To give you an idea, 2 weeks have passed since the release of the latest adventure of Woody, Buzz, and Jessie, and the animation's revenue has already reached $600 million. There is even an expectation within Disney that the movie will manage to reach the $2 billion mark, which is certainly not impossible, but it would make it the highest-grossing film in animation history. To give you an idea, the last 2 major box office champions in the animated film segment were Super Mario Galaxy, released in April, which grossed a little over $1 billion, and Zootopia 2, released at the end of the year 2025, which grossed $1.87 billion. Considering that at the same time the 2 movies we just mentioned had made less money than Toy Story 5, it is easy to imagine that Jessie and Blaze's movie will manage to surpass those numbers by its last day of screening in movie theaters. And if there was one thing that Toy Story 5 did really well, it was bringing in incredible new characters. And in particular, we need to highlight 2 of them. Lily Pad herself, who starts the story as a villain, but later redeems herself and becomes friends with Jessie, and Smarty Pants, who is absolutely the funniest new toy of all. And due to the fact that they are so well loved, even though they just joined the Toy Story toy team, the 2 of them will certainly be part of the next movies and will bring us many fun situations. Another point that makes us completely sure that Toy Story 6 is inevitable is right inside the story of the 5th movie itself. That is because the new movie introduces the creative Blaze into the toy world, and she ends up becoming Bonnie's great friend. The 2 girls are very close in age, with Bonnie being 8 years old and Blaze being 9, which means that they still have some time before they stop being kids and become teenagers, which would give plenty of room for the next movie to still have the 2 of them as main protagonists, alongside Jessie, Buzz, and Woody. One possibility, in fact, would be seeing the 2 girls going to the same school to study together, and somehow sharing with their classmates their love for playing with real toys. However, the same 3 girls who bullied Bonnie in Toy Story 5, Chelsea, Heidi, and Kara, could study at that same school and now try not only to offend Jessie's owner, but also Blaze. But this could be just the beginning of a story that will reveal that at this school, it is not just the 2 friends who like toys. but several other children hide the same secret. Now seriously, after all these details and Easter eggs, I think we deserve your subscription, don't we? The fact that a possible new friend of Bonnie and Blaze plays with toys but keeps it a secret would lead us exactly to the point where we could meet some new characters who would enter the story in different ways. For example, we can imagine that at the two friends' school, there is some boy, whom we can call Nick, who also has toys at his house and plays secretly with them out of fear of being discovered by his classmates and being called a big baby, just like what happened with Bonnie. The most interesting thing about all this would be the fact that Nick would be the owner of some toys that could very well be new characters in the movie, such as a male version of Lilypad that could be a salamander-shaped tablet named Newt, and could form another romantic couple in the Toy Story franchise. Another new character who could be showing up would be none other than Bonnie's younger sister. Remember that Andy had a little sister Molly? So it would be really cool if the same thing happened with Jesse's owner's family, and part of the plot followed the girl getting ready to welcome her baby sister who would be about to be born. Her name would be Penny, which would match perfectly with her older sister's name. The cool part about this possibility would be that as soon as Bonnie was stopping playing with Jessie, Buzz, and her other toys, Penny would automatically become the owner of all of them and their new kid, thus giving them a few more years to continue living in the same house as Bonnie. But besides Nick and Penny, who are humans, we will definitely have new characters from the toy world landing in Toy Story 6. One of them even appeared in the post-credits scene in a very threatening way. Of course, we are talking about the terrible Zurg, who is Buzz's arch-enemy and, at the same time, his father. One really cool thing that could happen would be to repeat the idea of creating an army of space action figures. Only this time, instead of being an army of light years, it could very well be an army of Zurg action figures that need to be fought and stopped from carrying out their plan to take over Bonnie's toy room. It would certainly be really cool. Besides Zurg, we have some ideas that we would love for Disney to hear and fulfill if it were possible. For example, it would be really cool if we had the inclusion of a new Space Ranger, who would be part of the team that works for Star Command. But it would not be Buzz, but rather someone from his team, exactly like what happened in the Lightyear movie from 2019, where Buzz had 3 more colleagues on his team. Imagine if in the next Toy Story adventure, we were introduced to none other than the first female Space Ranger from a task force sent to find Buzz and escort him back to Star Command. Obviously, this would just be the backstory printed on the packaging. But repeating Buzz's classic illusion in the first movie, she would be fully convinced that the mission is real. Thus, upon being unwrapped as a birthday present for Bonnie, her first action when getting out of the box would be to try to save our Ranger by any means necessary. It is logical that this heroic attitude would generate quite a bit of friction with Jessie. After all, the cowgirl and Buzz now officially form a couple, do they not? It is worth highlighting a really cool detail of the theory. The character's name would be Sally Lightyear, serving as a beautiful reference to the American physicist Sally Ride, who made history as one of the pioneers in space exploration. And the reason she carries the Lightyear last name? The official lore of the toy would explain that she is actually Buzz's sister. However, after suffering a crash landing during the search, the Space Ranger would have hit her head and suffered amnesia regarding their kinship, focusing exclusively on the rescue directive. All of this, of course, being part of the mythology written on the back of her box. Without a doubt, an excellent addition to the cast of an eventual Toy Story 6 story would be the introduction of a surprising figure, to say the least. Woody and Bo Peep's son. You are probably asking yourself, how is that possible if toys do not reproduce? Well, although we might explore some exceptions to the rule in the future, for our hero couple, conventional biology really does not apply. However, it is common knowledge that Woody and Bo Peep now dedicate their lives to rescuing lost toys. Up to this point, their specialty has been helping action figures that are already worn out and abandoned by their former children. But imagine the following scenario. What if they came across a box discarded in the trash containing a toy fresh from the factory, thrown away right off the bat just because the owner did not like the gift? This would be the ideal opportunity to introduce a teenage action figure with a Western theme, heavily resembling Woody's style, but sporting Bo Peep's visual characteristics, such as blonde hair, blue eyes, and a costume in shades of pink and blue. Because he is a perfect visual blend of the couple and still has no life experience in the world, he would end up being taken in by the duo. They would assume the role of guides and mentors, becoming, in practice, the adoptive parents of this young toy. To crown this adoption, they would name him Buddy Pride. Pride makes a mention of Woody's canonical last name, while Buddy not only works as a combination of their two names, father and mother, but it is also a brilliant reference to the franchise's classic theme song, where the word Buddy appears several times. It makes perfect sense, do you not think? We'll wrap up here, but if you also love everything involving pop culture, check out these 2 video options we're leaving for you on your screen. You can watch either of the 2, you're sure to love them.